and is real. And
Absolutely real.
I don't want to fool around with playing games as to why I know this is true. Most of you who are listening to this program know about the object in my left ear. This object is real. It has been studied. You can go look on Unknown Country, look at the video of the doctor's attempt to remove it. It has been studied in pathology. It is definitely a piece of technology of the highest order.
Right.
It was placed in my ear in such a way that we do not, in the external civilization, have any idea how it was done, because there was no scar tissue. There was nothing. This exists. It is real. It was put into my body by people who penetrated a house with a sophisticated alarm system. I was awake when it happened. I saw them come into the room and then lost control of the situation. Bottom line. In my opinion, whatever it does, we've never been able to find that out. But it is, those people were representative of that breakaway civilization. But here's something strange, Joseph. They didn't have to. I think they could have done this without my knowing. I think it was almost done for the purpose of my finding out.
Right.
In other words, it was a signal of some kind, maybe done by people who were too constrained by other forces to risk anything more direct.
Well, this could be, and we have any number of ways to read it, and this is why I decided to throw psychological operations into this whole mix.
Yes.
Because the disturbing thing to me was to go back and look at all of this stuff that the Nazis were doing in World War II, and to read the comment of SS Colonel Otto Skorzeny made circa 1943-44, when the Nazis had already put into operation their jet fighter aircraft. They were already raining rockets down on London and other western cities. He said that the wonder weapons that the Germans were developing, and in the context, I think it's very clear that he's not talking about rockets or any of this stuff. He's talking about something else entirely. That these technologies were perfectly suitable for what he called a Sonderkampf, a special warfare, in use behind enemy lines. In other words, he's talking about a psychological operation. And I got to thinking, why would this technology, anti-gravity and so on and so forth, why would this lend itself to psychological operations? And there's another thing that we need to consider, and I didn't even put this in the book, but it's something that Mr. Dolan mentions. And that is, I think it was the Robertson panel, the CIA's UFO study group, that came right out and suggested that even though they didn't know what the UFO phenomenon really was, or if it was really harmful or not harmful, it could be at least used in psychological warfare operations. So in other words, I think what we've got going on, at least in part, Whitley, is a psychological operation that, whether it originates with the breakaway civilization or with extraterrestrials or interdimensional beings themselves, that this operation amounts to the same thing, and it's for at least these two purposes, if not more. The first purpose would be to communicate to the victim, to the individual or groups undergoing these types of things, that they are helpless.
That they are helpless. We're going to have to take a brief break, sure. Joseph. Folks, we'll be right back, and we're going to be talking about the aims and capabilities of this breakaway civilization. What's it doing? Why is it so secret? What does it want? Why does it exist? And what is going to happen to us because of it? We'll be right back. Yep. In a kind of a different position, let me ask you something about the object in my head. You know about it. I mean, everybody does. It's no secret. I've been living with it for many years because of the way it functioned when we tried to remove it, it moving down into the earlobe and so forth. Would you have it taken out?
Would I personally? Yeah, I would.
What do you think it does?
That I don't know.
I don't either. I don't feel a sense of mind control.
Yeah, this is something that kind of piques my interest because, you know, if one follows Dr. Lear and his attempts to extract some of these implants,
whom I know very well and been at many of his extractions, most of them, in fact. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't recall many of the people that he's talked to saying that they have sensed any sort of emotional or mind control purpose with these things either.
Not mind control, but there's been a lot of emotion connected both with the objects, and with their removal. Some people have felt, I've talked to witnesses who felt a sense of terrible loss, and witnesses who felt a sense of terrible relief. It really goes across the board. There's no way to tell, but they're not tracking devices. They have some deeper purpose than that. The other thing, the reason I know they're not tracking devices is very simple. We can make tracking devices and put them in people you can't even see.
Right.
So why would some sophisticated civilization need to build things and implant them that are so obvious?
And do so in a way that you're aware that it's being done.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's another one of the reasons that I didn't have the one in my head removed.
Right.
Because in my ear removed because they made no secret of it. They could have done it without waking me up. In fact, they really played with me in the sense that as I woke up, this male voice from outside says, "Condition red." Now, why did he need to talk? Did he have any kind of other communication with the people who were involved in this?
Right.
He didn't need to talk. He talked not for them, but for me.
Well, again, you know, to put it in all those terms, to me, again, suggests that it was a bit of theater. It was a psychological operation.
Exactly.
You were
meant
you were meant to be a part of whatever their aim was. And the meme, you know, nothing like this has happened to me in my life. So I'm guessing here as to what my personal reaction would be, Whitley. But if this had been something that had happened to me, the first thing that I would have felt was probably the feeling of helplessness. And then secondly, curiosity. You know, why is this being
exactly.
done? You know, what are they doing? Why is this being done? Why is it happening to me? So I think part of this, whether or not it is humans behind it or extraterrestrials, what seems prima facie at the surface level to be going on is some sort of manipulation of a human soul. Now, one thing, when you mentioned that many of Dr. Lear's patients had complained or spoken about, you know, not wanting to have these things removed and feeling a sense of loss.
Well, some of them. I mean, one or two. Most of them were very happy to have them removed. Don't get me wrong. It's only I don't want to muddy up that statistic.
Well, even if it's just one or two, it's interesting to me because we may be looking at a technology. You know, this is the other thing about all those psychological operations. I didn't even get into emotion or mind control technologies in the Saucer Swastika Psyops book. But if we extrapolate, if we can sit here and talk about the extrapolation of anti-gravity technology from World War II to the present, and come to the conclusion, well, what they may have now may far exceed anything that we could possibly imagine. Well, imagine the same sort of progress with neurophysiological study and technology. It could be that they have a technology now that can be implanted that basically would allow them to read people's thoughts. So, you know, if that's the case, then I can see why someone would experience a sense or complain of feeling a sense of loss at those technologies. Because
very interesting.
Yeah, it's bound to create some sort of interface at a conscious or subconscious level, I would think, with the human psyche. So we could be looking at, one of those types of operations, Whitley, where the aim of implanting someone with some of these types of devices would be simply to read their thoughts, to get a database of human psychology built up, the better to manipulate people en masse with. But if you're going to implant an advanced technology like that, then you also want to combine operations. And this, I think, is a key thing for people to take away from our discussion, and a key thing that they should take away from the book. And that is, when you have these types of operations, I believe that it is a principle with these intelligence agencies, that it is an operational methodology, that they combine several objectives, as many objectives in an operation as they can.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that when they're implanting someone, they may have a goal to mine their mind, their emotions, their thoughts, but at the same time they also have subsidiary goals to plant memes in the public consciousness of helplessness, of technological superiority, of whoever is behind these types of events. So they're going to combine all these things. But
well, that gets me. We're coming to
Sure.
to our break, and that gets